From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5:30, streaming now.
Now at 5:30, coronavirus taking a toll in so many ways, financial, emotional, and of course, on our health. Tonight, why you should pay special attention to the impact on your adolescent children. And we all want to save money on our holiday purchases. Tonight, an alert about fake coupons that are after your personal information. Chris.
At the top of our lineup today, more people are opting out of senior housing amid the pandemic. We're looking at the new housing options people are considering instead for older family members. And for all that COVID has taken away from us, it's helping one community in a roundabout way, how these excess oysters are becoming the bedrock of coral reefs. And doctors are worried that kids are not up to date on their vaccines because of this pandemic. We'll talk about the diseases they are now most concerned could spread this winter.
First at 5:30, the pandemic has placed mental health front and center. Suicide attempts are up 39% among adolescents this year compared to last. WRTV's Kelsey Anderson spoke with a clinical psychologist at Riley Hospital for Children who says in just the month of November, they saw 17 children for attempted suicide compared to 4 in 2019.
When you look at studies and things right now, mental health needs are up with COVID going on.
Hillary Blake is a clinical psychologist at Riley Hospital for Children. She says studies don't show that COVID-19 is the exact reason for the rise in suicide attempts among adolescents.
When you look at past studies, a lot of them are just saying in general, seeing more suicide attempts from year to year.
She says suicide is the second leading cause of death among young adults, adolescents, and children. She says the large majority of those who try to attempt suicide are diagnosed with depression.
Signs of depression, which we know is having a depressed mood, so sadness. We see it a lot as irritability in adolescents and children too, or just lack of interest in things. Not everything's boring, nothing's fun anymore. Also, there's symptoms of depression are appetite changes, concentration problems, just moving slower than they used to move, feelings of worthlessness or excessive guilt, and suicide ideation are big things that we look for. So if parents are seeing this, the biggest thing is to seek out mental health treatment.
Blake says the biggest factor they see in adolescence is strained relationship with family members.
So I think the best thing that we know is that family and connectedness to the community is definitely a protective factor for suicide. So having parents sit down and validate their children's feelings and their problems and take them seriously and make them feel heard is a big thing that we can do as parents.
Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
The psychologist also told us it is important parents use words and phrases that let your child know you understand how they are feeling instead of saying things that don't validate their feelings. And of course, she says it is important families talk about mental health. Kevin.
I realize many of you not seeing any sunshine here after the sun set just a few minutes ago if you're in eastern Indiana, but that's what the western horizon looks like as we use our Weather Now camera downtown, looking over the JW Marriott, over Victory Field. Interesting there, you can see the infield protected, the pitcher's mound covered up. Baseball. Hopefully we can get to that in the spring. Temperature 30 in Kokomo, 31 in Bloomington. Temperature right at freezing in Indy and Kokomo. Okay, coldest night ahead. 22 will be the low. The wind will be relatively light, actually very light compared to where we've been. We had gusts in the last 24 hours to 40 miles per hour. Temperature in the morning, 23 degrees. It takes a little while to turn things around, so through 8 to 9 a.m. that's the coldest period. Then temperatures climb from there. By noon, you're looking at 37 degrees, and the afternoon temperature lands at about 43. In all, the winds tomorrow generally 5 to maybe 10 miles per hour, and we'll see more consistent sunshine from start to finish. Should be a relatively enjoyable day.
While the federal government prepares to ship COVID vaccines, states have some concerns. Government Accountability Office report found almost half of states are greatly or completely concerned about having enough supplies to administer vaccines, specifically needles. Another 21 states were moderately concerned. Some states said they were already struggling to keep up with needle demand for flu shots. Now, the report did not specify which states, but it did lay out recommendations for the Department of Health and Human Services and FEMA to work together on some supply chain shortages. The government did disagree with those recommendations twice. Now, a vaccine creates an opportunity, unfortunately, for cyber attacks.
Nation states or certain organizations are targeting vaccine researchers, and overwhelmingly, the vectors that we're seeing are still email based. So that continues to be the biggest concern.
Now, Checkpoint Security Software says coronavirus-related cyber attacks are down since the summer, but the number of malicious vaccine-related websites is up. So-called threat actors are sending out vaccine-related email phishing campaigns. Recent one had the email subject, urgent information letter, COVID-19, new approved vaccines.
So what I would really warn folks is that if you receive an email that contains a vaccine sort of sensational type of subject in the email itself, and then there's an attachment, and the attachment is either an executable or an office document, those are things that you want to watch out for.
Now, people who opened that document in the phishing email actually had a way to steal usernames and passwords. Now, only get your vaccine-related information, it's important to note, from trusted news and government websites. Do not get it from your inbox.
This is just the next thing, right? So every time there's a new announcement, that specific subject or that specific entity that's tied to, say, a vaccine is what's going to become the next target, right? So these threat actors are very, very closely monitoring the global pandemic and then using those moments to quickly make and adjust their attack methods.
Now, here's another phishing email campaign that had coronavirus vaccine in the subject line. The email contained a malicious link that took people to a fake website that did look like a legit Canadian pharmacy. All right, ahead in our lineup, the pandemic's created a greater need to bring generations together in one home. We're taking a look at the changes that homeowners are now making.
Chances are you're looking to spread some holiday cheer and have some cash this season. But as consumer reporter John Matarese explains, you need to be wary of fake coupons so you don't waste your money.
In these final weeks of the holiday shopping season, we're all looking to save some money in our purchases, but some coupons that may show up in your inbox or Facebook feed are too good to be true. Seems like everyone on Facebook is sharing a new coupon for free groceries. This time it's for $75 in groceries at Aldi to celebrate the chain's anniversary. But just like with similar viral coupons in the past, it's fake. It's really a scheme to get information from you and your Facebook friends. Turns out you're required to take several surveys where you have to give out your birth date. Meantime, the website mouseprint.org reports a fake $100 gift card that appears to be from Amazon. The coupon, showing up in email inboxes, thanks you for being a loyal Amazon customer. But just like the Aldi coupon, this one's counterfeit too. Bottom line, be careful with emailed coupons, especially if they're for a large amount, and be very skeptical of Facebook coupons so you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese, WRTV.
Fewer people are choosing to live in senior housing amid this pandemic. Occupancy has gone down more than 2.5% for 2 quarters in a row. Now take a look at the numbers here from April through September of this year when we talk about it. That's according to a trade group for housing providers. It says that the senior housing sector is actually going through the largest drop in occupancy it's ever seen.
We have heard from people who, their first priority is to get older parents out of more hazardous locations such as nursing homes. And when they are looking for options in terms of where to move them, part of the option, of course, is to bring them into their home.
The director for livable communities for AARP says the financial benefits of living in a multi-generational home are getting some people to think about it during the pandemic, but others are avoiding it because of concerns about COVID exposure risk for older family members. She says there is a renewed interest in accessory dwelling units, which is actually something a company called UMH Properties is working on right now. It calls it care cottages. Service will let people lease a 1-bedroom, 1-bath temporary home that you actually put on your property.
We believe that we can get it approved because it's going to be temporary, it's going to be ADA compliant, and with those things in mind, the zoning department of a town should approve bringing the manufactured home onto somebody's lot where it's zoned as a single-family residential lot.
Now, the company's CEO says COVID-19 sparked the idea for the care cottages, but he expects there to be interest in them beyond the pandemic. The company has received dozens of people asking about the care cottages since it started marketing them in September. Now, if you have older family members moving into your home instead, AARP says you should have some certain parameters around chores and expectations. Privacy can be a concern for an older adult who may have lived by themselves for a long time. You also need to prepare your home for things like trip hazards. Very important there. All right, let's get back to the lineup. The effects of COVID have stretched into the seas. How the benefits to oysters are impacting coral reefs. Home Depot is expanding its commitment to training for trade skills. The company is now offering a new program called Path to Pro. The goal is to address the skilled labor gap by offering education in trades and connecting workers with jobs and careers. Now, the pandemic upended many businesses this year. December could be a make or break time for many of them. And as Maya Rodriguez shows us, as we all work to rebound, that can mean good things for customers too.
The holiday season leads the mad dash to the end of the year for businesses. But this year's dash may look entirely different because of the pandemic.
Especially like the grassroots efforts, connecting with them face to face. You know, unfortunately, right now we can't do that. So you need to be thinking about now, how can I get in front of people more frequently? Essentially, we need to get in front of people and cut through the noise of everything else.
Lacey Book is a business consultant specializing in helping small businesses succeed. In these challenging times, she offered specific tips for navigating through December. Among her points, make sure your business has a web presence that is easy to navigate, which is critical to reaching customers now mostly shopping online. Reach out to repeat customers you've had over the months and years through email and social media. And create connections with other businesses by collaborating on marketing. See how you can help them. Being benevolent, she says, goes a long way. And so do discounts.
I think it would really be important for you to look at where in my business can I offer maybe a discount or extend the opportunity for people to buy something at a lower price point. Because again, I think people are also price shopping. Where in the past, people really were able to find money for the things that they really wanted. But now what they're doing is they're spending things on what they actually need.
And while this advice is intended to get businesses through the pandemic, it's likely to stay with us for the long haul because our shopping habits and expectations have changed. In Annapolis, Maryland, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
Yesterday.
And a reminder, the 20th annual WRTV Toy Drive is in full swing. On Saturday, we'll be outside 4 local Simon malls to collect your toys. Come see us at the Fashion Mall, Castleton Square, Hamilton Sound Center, and Greenwood Park Mall. We're also accepting toys at local youth store locations. For all the info you need, just go to WRTV.com/Toy Drive. Kevin.
And it will be warmer Saturday than it was today. That won't be hard to do. Temperatures never really warmed up much. Temperatures 32 in Indy right now. Still a little gold glow on the horizon. The sun set at 5:21. Notice the wind starting to calm down, but not quite there. West at 14 in the metro area. You know anyone that lives in the deep south? I'll show you some temperatures all the way down into Florida, where they struggled today, even in Miami. It's 64 there right now, 41 in Atlanta. There are freeze warnings that go into northern Florida. Core of the cold air sags all the way to the south. We'll start to recover here over the next couple of days. Through the evening hours, our sky clears. You've already seen that clearing line I've been showing you to the west. That will eventually sweep to the east with the wind calming down. Temperatures by 11, solidly in the 20s. Love this picture from photojournalist Michael Japowitz of Monument Circle. Don't forget, go take a spin around the circle and check out the lights. Looks good on an evening like this. Temperatures in the 30s tomorrow. Especially north and east. That'll be the coolest. You go southwest, temperatures slightly warmer, but still average or maybe just a little below. What changes Thursday? More clouds, really for the southern half of the state. Could be a little mixture of a couple of snowflakes and raindrops in the south, but I think most of us will stay dry. There are your temperatures tomorrow. They're in the 40s for highs. We'll talk about the weekend and beyond here in just a little bit.
Corporate America has had a major shift this year, not only dealing with widespread remote working, but accelerating diversity and inclusion efforts.
I think we are where we are as a society because holistically, none of us have really gotten to where we need to be, and certainly where we aspire to be. So I think it's learning from different companies on different dimensions.
Now that's the new CEO of global animal health company Zoetis. Kristen Peck is part of the group's CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion. Major company executives recently met virtually to discuss how to take steps forward in the workplace. Now, Peck says it does start with learning, going over best practices and things that are not working right now, and realizing that inclusivity is for everyone.
Every individual gets to belong, gets to bring their whole self to work. And I think that's actually what everybody wants. Nobody, knowingly goes into a meeting hoping someone's not going to bring their best that day. They just might not be aware of what their behavior or others' behavior is doing that's preventing everybody from bringing their whole self and all their creativity to every discussion.
Now, this year saw more women CEOs of Fortune 500 companies than ever before, but there are even fewer black CEOs. Peck thinks it is important for companies to be transparent and release workforce diversity statistics. Meanwhile, NASDAQ is pushing for more diversity among the thousands of companies on its exchange. Under its proposal to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the majority of companies would need at least 2 diverse board directors. If a company can't meet the requirements, it will need to explain why. The proposal also calls for more transparency around who fills board seats. Well, COVID-19 hasn't had too many silver linings for most of us this year, but it does turn out the virus, which has upended our economy, is actually doing something good for the environment. Now, we're not talking just less pollution. Chris Conti explains another unique benefit that has nothing to do with Americans driving less.
It's very peaceful, very serene, calm.
Hidden in the fog often lies clarity.
Morning, how are you? You want to hand it to us? Sure. Yeah.
For Josh Carloni and his wife Jessica, though, no fog could hide the reality of this past year.
It's supposed to open up today. That's why we have coolers.
Restaurant after restaurant closed down because of COVID.
That's a big one.
Their fishing business
Great.
was lost at sea.
Every time you turn on the news, seems like there's more and more bad news out there.
What to do with the thousands of oysters they had planned to sell to restaurants this year?
We're super close with our growers, and so they were ready to go.
Alex LaFerrier and her team with the Nature Conservancy of New Hampshire had an answer.
I think it can really move the needle. All right.
Earlier this year, an anonymous donor gifted $2 million to their nonprofit. With help from the Pew Charitable Trust, they've been able to buy back 5 million oysters that would have just been thrown overboard.
It is really, really beneficial to the growers, and it gives them another outlet for their product.
Kind of spread them out.
It's not just fishermen's bottom line that the program is helping. It's also helping something at the bottom of the ocean.
This is the site that's marked out. This habitat's really critical.
Turns out oysters don't just taste good. They can do good for the environment.
They work on water quality. So an adult oyster can filter 30 gallons of water a day. And when they're filtering that water, they're removing excess nutrients and nitrogen from the system.
That grant bought back 10,000 of Josh Carloni's oysters. And he isn't just throwing them into the ocean. Alex and her team have strategically told him where they should be deployed.
It's divided up so each grower has an allotted place.
2 green buoys up here.
Eventually, the oysters will latch on to reefs below and help restore damage done by decades of overharvesting, pollution, and disease. The program is being deployed in 7 states: Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Washington State. Fishermen get an infusion of cash. Reefs across the country get an infusion of clean water, courtesy of a 3-inch mollusk.
It's this really great win-win opportunity where we get this ecological benefit of putting oysters back in the bay, and we're also helping our local oyster farmers.
Something like this, where our sales are down for the year, this can help us and will help us, continue to stay in business.
So many times this year, it's been hard to see a way forward, clouded by the dreariness of COVID-19.
There's nothing bad about this situation. It's only good.
All because of COVID. Yeah, we would never would have been here.
But out here, a reminder that like the fog, the pandemic will also pass.
And it's working, so it's pretty cool.
In Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Chris Conti.
All right, Chris, thank you. Now, still ahead in our lineup, fewer kids have gotten their regular vaccinations during the pandemic. We find out which diseases put them at greatest risk this winter. Doctors are sounding the alarm on the rise in unvaccinated kids as we head into the winter months. An immunology expert tells us that he thinks parents are avoiding doctors' offices because of the pandemic.
I think they're just scared of gathering in groups, and it makes sense. But pediatricians, I think, are doing their darndest to try and make sure that people are in as safe a position as possible, because it's important to be vaccinated. I mean, it's not just pandemic COVID-19 that can kill you.
Right now, Dr. Paul Offit says two of his biggest concerns are measles and whooping cough. Both are winter diseases. Although the measles had previously been eliminated in the U.S., cases have been rising in recent years because of a lack of vaccinations. Offit says at least before we had a measles vaccine, it was actually much more likely to be deadly than COVID. Now, there's tens of thousands of cases of whooping cough in the U.S. every year, and children are most likely to die from it. There's also other bacteria out there that are less common, but can cause things like meningitis or pneumonia.
We put these diseases aside because we assume they're gone. They're not gone. And let your immunization drop far enough and you'll see them again.
Offit says wearing masks and social distancing have helped keep the spread of some of these diseases other than COVID under control as well. But he is concerned that once people are able to get a COVID vaccine, they will immediately stop practicing those measures. Now, it was the big question on teachers' minds as this very different school year started.
Just by a show of hands, who is a little bit nervous about this upcoming year?
Yeah, tomorrow we check back to see what's been the hardest for educators and what's been easier than they expected.
Well, the wind was strongest overnight into the morning hours this morning. Now tonight we'll go the opposite direction and calm the winds down, but we had wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour once again across central Indiana. I promised to mention over the weekend, a dry weekend, more than likely. The chance for any precipitation Saturday, just 20%. Temperatures will still be in the lower 40s both Saturday and Sunday. That's all for the news at 5:30. The news starts again